I don't get to say yes. It just says recorded. All right.
Welcome, everybody. Greg Peterson coming to you from the Urban Farm in the heart of Phoenix, Arizona. And I am here with Janis tonight. Hello, Janis.
Hello, everybody. I'm Janis Norton. I am coming from Peoria, a little northwest of Greg. And this is my farm, the 2-piece in a pod orchard.
Yes. So I have go ahead.
Go ahead. You're first.
No, well, I was going to say I have a story to tell on me.
Go ahead.
And so I want to jump in there. So first of all, what I have to tell everybody is that Janis is amazing. Janis has absolutely transformed what we do here in the past 5 years. She started out with us as an intern from Arizona State University, and she had to browbeat me into getting the internship because I didn't want to have to deal with managing anybody.
Yeah.
And so she got a part internship with us, and then she proved to me, like I needed to be proved, I guess I did, that she was great at what she did. And then before long she was working for me part-time, and then before long she was working for me full-time. And then it got to the place of we just call her my manager, so she manages all this stuff. And I usually come up with the new things, and she institutes them. She puts them into play. What were you going to say, Janis?
No, go ahead.
And so what happened with this one, I had a what if. And the what if was, oh my gosh, what if we started doing monthly classes like we did last year for our Victory Garden Challenge? And then I promptly forgot about that what if. And she came to me 2 weeks later and she said, Terra Rose is going to do a class with us. And it was like, okay, great. And as of yesterday morning, we didn't have very many people signed up. And I suggested to Janis, I said, well, let's just put it off for a month or two and relaunch it. And then she put out an email this yesterday morning, and we had over 1,200 people sign up for this. It's like, wow. So I wanted to cancel it. She wanted to make it happen, and woohoo, go Janis. So I'm just here for moral support, because guess what? This is Janis's gig. She gets to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, he says, let's not do this. Let's just put it off. Oh, by the way, you're hosting. Like, okay, good. It's mine. I'm taking it. So
yeah. So Carrie says Janis is a rock star. We know.
Thanks, Carrie. Thanks, Jackie. Okay, so I wanted to tell you a little bit about my friend Terra. I actually met my friend Terra. So Terra, you want to pop on now so people can see who I'm talking about? I actually met my friend Terra about 2 years ago when Greg was talking to her about maybe joining part of our project here at the Urban Farm. And we didn't get a chance to talk much because I was too busy running around doing an event that day. And I thought, something going on there. Maybe we might want to connect a little bit more and get some more information about each other. But then flash forward, during 2020, we got a chance to work together at ASU on this really great project. And I'll tell you more about it on a different episode. But I got to know Terra, and Terra was fabulous. She was passionate. She was exciting. We were both focusing on food systems in this cohort over at ASU. And it was a wonderful experience getting to know Terra over the course of a year and really realizing that we were aligned in our passions in so many ways. So when the idea came forth to have this class, oh yeah, Terra popped into my mind. I'm like, Terra, what do you got? What can we do? And
Wow.
She knew it. She had an idea, and I was excited, like rocketed up with the excitement right off the bat. I'm like, that is perfect. Let's do it. And so we worked together, got it all organized, and this is what we have tonight. So,
one of the things that I love about Terra,
what's that?
Is I have said for years, shit happens because somebody says so. And I love it when people show up in my life and they say, you know what, this is going to happen. And that's one of the things I love about you, Terra Rose, is that you make things happen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's awesome.
So Terra is a national speaker, bioenergetic practitioner, and visionary entrepreneur. She utilizes high frequency energy, activated nutrition, and earth reconnection through gardening to support her clients worldwide in activating and living their true potential. And I love how she phrased that because that is so Terra. Even not as a client, she does that for me. Besides running a thriving practice doing this, she also serves as the executive director of Brilliant Planet, a nonprofit she founded located in Mesa, Arizona. She'll give us a little bit more about that later. But the organization has an ecosystem mission, which includes being part of the end to food insecurity in Arizona, while also reinfusing magic and wonder for living in nature into the hearts and minds of families. They do this through hosting homeschool events, family volunteer days, and classes within their lifestyle, plant based cooking, and gardening schools. You know, this is exciting to welcome you here, Tara. I am really pumped. All of our little chats about what this class was going to be was just electrifying for me. So I am here, my pen, my pad of paper. I'm ready to take notes. Welcome.
Thank you so much for that introduction. And Greg, thank you for all the little things ever since 2005 when I met you at ASU, and Janice for creating this. I did my best, everybody, to whittle it down to 30 to 45 minutes because, oh my gosh, do I have so much to share with you. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and let's dive into this fun presentation. All right. Here we go. Okay, so what does garden to table even mean? Well, garden to table is, hey, can I walk out into my garden and feel cozy and confident and comfortable? And side note, if you don't have a garden growing right now, that's totally okay. If you're going to farmers markets or the grocery store to get your veggies, this is just as relevant for you. And this is just as relevant for you if you don't live in Arizona, because I have designed this to be for anybody who's jumping on and ready to create more plant-based recipes. So Garden to Table says, hey, how can I take more fruits, more vegetables, nuts and seeds, and the types of things that I grow and have an outrageous confidence that when I go out there, I can take it into the kitchen and create something magical. So that's what you and I are going to do tonight. So the first thing I want to do is welcome you and dive literally right in. I'm really excited, you can probably tell. So this is designed, as I mentioned, to be really user-friendly, easily applicable, and inspiring to use, meaning I'm going to give you resources and tool sets that can be broadly applied to many different things so that when you take this away and you have another idea, it's not limited to what I talked about tonight. Oh gosh, she said this one thing. You can say, oh, she taught me this, and I can take it and apply it in multiple different ways in the kitchen. As Janice mentioned, make sure you grab out a pen and a paper or open up a new note. Although if digital distraction's a thing for you, which I know it can be for me, then maybe consider that pen and paper. And then if you're willing, I'm going to invite you to turn off those distractions and enjoy the next 45 minutes of my strawberry jam-packed garden to table joy, because I really believe that you and I can create some magic here tonight and some confidence that maybe you didn't have before, or maybe you're super confident already and you're just kind of curious about what we're up to, and that's great too. And then at the very end, we will have Q&As. So make sure to jot those down. I will be here for that. And I have tons of goodies too, which you're gonna get all the way at the end. So just hang with me. If you need a break, get up, maybe take some deep breaths, do some jumping jacks, and hang tight. All right, so who am I? And I like this introduction because even though I can't see you, which I'm used to speaking on stages in front of people where I can connect a little bit more, I want you to know who I am so you can understand a little bit better why it's valuable for you to actually sit here for the next 45 minutes. I deeply honor your time, and I'm very grateful that you decided to show up tonight and or on the replay. So here are my certifications, just a few of them as a highlight, and you can glance over them right now. But I wanted to tell you a story in pictures as well. On the bottom left is me coaching through an ice bath. So I am a peak performance coach, as Janice mentioned, and we do all sorts of cool things to help people break through. And it's relevant here because nutrition is such a big part of that. This next one is I'm deep in the heart of nature up on a 14,000-foot mountain outside of Buena Vista, Colorado. And as you probably are passionate about too, nature helps inform me of the different ways that we can connect to our garden, connect to the way we grow, and then really create more of a permaculture ecosystem. So I love getting out into nature, into the forest, and understanding how everything works and grows. This next photo on the bottom is one of my mini garden beds. It's like a 4x4, super easy to build out, all the greens. And so this year specifically, we started growing more food than ever, over 1,000 square feet of raised beds, 37 fruit trees. I know for some of you that's probably really minuscule, but it was a lot of fun. All the way on the right, that's my mini Siberian Husky, Kyrie, and she's my kid. She's my kid at this juncture in my life. Above that, we have 50 kids that actually came out to my eco destination, Wonderland. I am a huge advocate for experiential learning, imaginative play, art, and bringing gardening and teaching all together for kids. So we have a lot of homeschool events. So that's a picture of our very last event this season because of the heat, and it's just really inspiring to have all those kiddos out here. Top left, I'm a tree hugger through and through. I can't help it. My mom named me Terra. So that's me hugging one of our newly planted fruit trees that we got from Greg and Janice's fruit tree program. I love it. It's obviously thriving. I have my best day ever sweatshirt on. And then on the right is just me speaking at an event. So check that out and we'll connect more. But I want to get right into why this presentation, I believe this presentation is important for you. The first thing is, wow, we've all been through 2020 and that's inescapable. So this is important, in my opinion, for your body and your immune system. We know that when we cook and create healthy food with a lot of love and intent, we have an opportunity to nourish ourselves in a completely different way. So I believe as you stay tuned in tonight, you're going to find some cool tips and tricks, and I can't wait to hear from you at the end about what those are to really deeply nourish and nurture your immune system and your body. The second thing is, I'm hoping you get to snag a new perspective and leverage a lot of the tools that I have built over the years. I've been working with clients for over, I always have to update this number because I'm like, 10 years. Nope, it's been almost 14 years. And I did have a company with 7 naturopathic doctors where I did all the nutrition for their clients. And so within that, I had a lot of opportunity to understand what works. So we're taking that tonight into what we're talking about so we can make the best recipes ever. And then finally, of course, building that confidence. I hear a lot of times from people that, oh my gosh, like I would love to cook more, but it's going to taste gross, or I'd love to grow more and cook it, but I don't have a green thumb and I have no idea what to do with it. But tonight I'm here to tell you that you can absolutely do it. And I'm going to help you make it delicious and a lot more fun. And then number 3 is I hope to alleviate that stress. So any stress you might be feeling about creating masterpieces in the kitchen, I want to help alleviate that for you and at least give you tool sets to guide you in the right direction. Of course, I can't do everything I want to do in 45 minutes. It's been what feels like a lifetime of information, but I am going to do my best. And then the other component where I'm talking about cognitive dissonance and staying connected to what's real is we can all probably agree that when we grow our food, we take a seed, we put it in the soil and it grows. And that is something real. And in the time of COVID and 2020, and we're just trying to figure out how to come home to ourselves and how to move forward, this is a place we can do it. We all eat every single day, unless we're fasting, of course, but in general, we're all eating every single day. And so this is a space where we can keep coming home to, this is real. It's real seeds, it's real soil, it's real earth, it's real food. And I'm choosing that for myself and my body. All right, so what we're covering tonight are contents, the secret sauce, the mindset behind making delicious food that helps you glow, grow, flow, and feel great. So mindset to me is everything, because if we start here, we can pretty much do anything if we're convinced, right? The second thing is the 6 tastes, which if you're not familiar with them, I think you're going to have a lot of fun learning about. What to do with your garden goodies. Last year, when I was in the program with Janice and Greg's input, I did research with the Knowledge Exchange for Resilience program. One of the number one things I found out that was a barrier for people to grow their own food and feel confident with it was that when they got good at it, they had an overabundance and got really frustrated and stressed out because they didn't know what to do with it. Personally, this blew my mind because we're dealing with food insecurity, and then we're talking to people just in their own home gardens that are frustrated by the amount of leftover food. So knowing what to do with your garden goodies and having an idea of, hey, I have this huge harvest, but I can't eat it all right now. What do I do with it? The anatomy of a creamy-dreamy plant-based sauce or dressing. I want everything in my life to be just creamy and delicious and savory. So that's where that came from. I think you'll love it. We'll have fun with that. Plant-powered appetizers, desserts, and main meals. I'll give you ideas. And then also I'll give you, a surprise. I won't even tell you yet. Okay. And then delicious meals from garden to table in 10 minutes or less. And then of course we have our Q&A and connecting at the end. So let's just deep dive right in. The secret sauce of mindset and magic. So the very first thing that I would recommend for you is to be willing to learn the tools I'm going to teach you tonight. And then of course, continue on. Google is such an amazing resource for that, or asking friends or families or your family to have more ideas on it, but learn the tools and tips inside this presentation or that other people might have, and then practice them to build your confidence. I love learning rules so we know how to appropriately break them if it's appropriate to do so safely. I feel like I need to make that a disclaimer. But of course, it just means once you take all of what I'm going to share with you and you internalize it, then we're able to do number 2 really effectively. Just give yourself permission to play and get messy and reconnect to your creativity in the kitchen. There is no better place than somewhere that you probably either want to spend or, well, you may not want to spend time in the kitchen, but want to understand how to connect to spending time in the kitchen and just get into that ability to really love your food and get messy. I started cooking at a really young age. My mom got me a little tiny recipe box, and for first grade, which I didn't go to kindergarten, for first grade, I baked my bananas with all the cinnamon and all sorts of other things, and I brought this thing in a snack in a glass container to school for snack, and it was the weirdest thing ever because these kids had all these like crispy yellow things in a bag, which were Cheetos, but I didn't know it then. And they cornered me and they're like, this is so weird. But after I got more comfortable with that, I realized what a gift it was that I had from such a young age, the opportunity to get messy in the kitchen and experiment, and then take that to school or into my life to nourish my body. And then of course, I'm sure a lot of you have kids and it's the same thing. Let's let them get messy, have them touch it. So I've done a lot of research that says, actually, we have digestive enzymes on the tips of our fingers. Now, how much of that do we have now after a year of hand sanitizer? It's debatable, but it's something interesting. And so whether or not there's total validity to that, I like that idea. And it makes sense, right? We used to eat with our hands. So just connecting into that creative process, feeling our food, smelling our food, making it a sensory experience. And then the third thing is sharing your creations and recreating culture and community around our eating experiences. One thing that I've discovered in the States, especially, is that we don't, and of course, this is a generalization. There are places that this isn't true for, but in general, we don't have a lot of culture around food anymore. We don't have this idea that we sit down and we give gratitude to our food and we connect to it and then we eat it and we laugh, and we don't have 7-course meals and typically laugh over dinner. Now, again, of course, some people do, but that's the exception, not the rule. So how can we start to look at our consumption and the way we consume in a different way, where we get really present to it and we rebuild some fun culture around it, and we create our own traditions around eating and preparing and enjoying. So that is where we want to start, which is with the mindset, allowing yourself to say, okay, I'm just going to try. I'm going to experiment. I'm going to have fun with it. I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm going to see what comes of it. So say it with me if you will. And again, because I can't see you, I don't know if you're doing it, but there is a really cool power if we all do say it together wherever you are at in the world right now. So number one is, I am a creative, masterpiece making, mess loving, I know this is hard for some of you type A's, I know, totally imperfect, and I'm loved for my imperfection. Just say it, just own it. Genius in the kitchen. And number two, there are no mistakes, just learning opportunities. I'd encourage you to keep these close and repeat them, and maybe even hang it up in your kitchen. I know it might sound kind of silly, but when we encourage ourselves this way, it really allows us to open up and have a little bit more fun. All right, so now let's dive into the 6 tastes. So the 6 tastes are sweet, sour, salty, spicy or pungent, astringent, and bitter. And I won't go too deeply into their correlation with the elements, but we know that in Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine and a lot of different things that we can study, that our bodies are made up of all of the elements, and so are the tastes of the food. So we utilize the 6 tastes to figure out where we need to create more balance for ourselves. And we'll go into that a little bit more as we go through the slides. But the reason that we look at the taste is because when we can create a harmonizing meal with all of the tastes or most of the tastes, we're able to create balance and eliminate cravings. It's incredibly powerful for the body to feel that nourished. It allows us to release weight. It allows us to feel balanced. It allows our minds to calm down. And it's an incredible way to move forward with our nutrition. Now, if you are somebody who gets stressed about getting it right and being a perfectionist, which I can totally understand and relate to, then I want you to know that if you can't get every taste in every meal, that's totally okay. What we're doing here is we're building key awarenesses so that we can take this into our everyday life and say, oh my gosh, I am craving, maybe I'm craving so much sugar. Well, what then do I need? Well, maybe I need something sour, right? A little bit of earth energy, or maybe there's an emotion inside of me that I need to burn off, right? With the fire elements. So I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole too far with you right now, but just to get you thinking, and you can definitely do more research on it. The 6 tastes are based in Ayurvedic medicine, and I've seen a lot of success with clients when they start to dive into it. So the first taste that we want to talk a little bit more about is sweet. We are very familiar with the sweet taste in our culture. It's everywhere, right? And a lot of it, unfortunately, is fake. So we have fake sugar. A lot of it's genetically modified. Hey, it sneaks in. It is what it is. But when we look at what the sweet taste does for us, and then I even have here what happens in excess when we have too much, then we can understand how to help it balance in our bodies. It gives us pleasure, as we well know, and it coats the mouth, so you can feel that when you eat sugar or something sweet, and bringing awareness to that's really fascinating because you can start to notice your body's response. It gives us strength and nourishment to the tissues, but in excess, it actually can cause that weight gain and sluggishness. So we want to make sure that we have the sweet, but we don't over have the sweet. So put a pin in that. Excuse me, please, if sweet is something that you struggle with, I'd love to hear from you at the end. So the whole foods that contribute the sweet taste to a meal. Now there are more, but these were the ones that I was thinking, okay, might actually be in your garden or a staple that you could be utilizing, like the whole grains. And then we have the sweet potatoes, the carrot, beets, tomatoes. Tomatoes are a crossover, so they're in another list as well. The peas, carrots, pumpkins, all of those types of things. So even though not everything on this list are fruits, which you might immediately think of, we do have a lot of different foods that contribute the sweet taste. So when you're building your meals and you're out in the garden and you're starting to play around with tasting something, you might think, oh, okay, this is a little sweet, and maybe it's even a little astringent. Okay, interesting. Well, this will contribute nicely to this meal because it's going to create that balance. And again, what we're looking for is just awareness so we can play with it. The next one is sour. So how do we identify the sour taste when we start to play around with our foods and taste them and think of them in a little bit of a different way? Well, we have that increased salivation. So if you ever drink warm lemon water in the morning for detox, or you eat a grapefruit, or you have vinegar for your salad dressing, something like that, you're going to notice that salivation and contraction within the face. Now, sometimes it might be minor because maybe you're really used to sour things. But again, it's awareness. It's discovering how your body is reacting to something. It stimulates our appetite and strengthens our digestive fire. So if you're somebody who doesn't find that they have a whole lot of an appetite, utilizing more sour to help you balance out could be a really good thing if you're undernourished. And then the sour taste comes from organic acids, but in excess, it can start to burn us up on the inside. So just like everything, we don't want to overdo it. The next taste is spicy, also known as pungent. So it causes that mild kind of heating sensation within the body. We typically are very aware when we're eating something spicy. You'll probably notice different people have different reactions to different level of spices. One thing that we want to make sure of is that we don't over consume spicy food, because it can actually have a nice little adrenaline spiking effect, but we can become a little addicted to that. And then our bodies can get too warm, and it can create aggravation, especially in the mind, which just means our minds are racing, or going too fast, or having thoughts all the time, or waking us up in the middle of the night. So we're just finding where that spiciness comes in and how to balance it. I think you've probably heard that before. So spicy, here's the list of the whole foods, and you grow a lot of those in your garden probably, especially if you're here in Arizona. I know I just finished harvesting a lot of our onions and tons of our greens and our jalapenos. So I don't personally yet grow herbs, but herbs are also a wonderful way to kind of get into the tastes and figure out, okay, I have maybe these 3 things from my garden. Now I want to balance the taste out. Which spices have this taste or this taste to help balance it? It's kind of a fun thing to peek at. The next one is astringent, and astringent is just not something that we talk or think about a whole lot as a taste, because of course we are a culture of sweet, salty, and sour primarily. But astringent is known to dry out the mouth, kind of will pucker with it a little bit, and might feel a little bit chalky. And you can probably, as you look at the list there of the foods, notice and identify which foods make you feel like that. So it's interesting, because when we really get into making sure astringent's in there, we find that the whole foods that cause the astringent taste to take place are extremely amazing for a lot of our other functions, bowel movements and anti-inflammation and different things like that. So astringent is a really hard one actually to overconsume typically. But if we do, it can cause the constipation. And when it says obstruction of the channels, it just means we get bound up. But again, astringent isn't really something that we have to worry too much about. And then this list, you're going into lentils and dried beans, delicious fresh beans, which you may or may not or can grow in your garden. And then we've got some of the cruciferous veggies like the broccoli and the cauliflower. And then even some of the fruits. So it's fun because we can kind of mix and match. You could throw a pomegranate into a salad or even into a lentil dish. So it's really fun to look at that. And we can get into food combining maybe in another episode, but we're able to take the tastes and then the food combinations and nail it. I love it. All right. So the last taste is, this is not the last taste. This is the 5th taste, is bitter. And we probably are pretty aware of something when it tastes bitter. It leaves the palate just feeling so crisp and clean. So I'm sure you have noticed it if you think about it. And if you haven't yet, I'd encourage you to play around with it because it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun when we're like, oh gosh, I feel really good with the way the bitter taste has cleaned out my mouth and freshened me up. It also helps, of course, with detoxification and comes from the alkaloids and the glycosides in the food. Again, this one is pretty rare to get in excess because it is very self-regulating, but we can become extra gaseous. It comes from coffee and green tea. Personally, I don't recommend coffee necessarily. Now, if you drink it, okay, great. Not the conversation we're having today, but that is something that does contribute that bitter taste. If we put in a lot of cream or sugar or other things, it can actually curb that taste and take some of that benefit of actually having the bitter away. So we just want to be mindful of it and notice it and say, okay, what am I trying to get from whatever I consume? And then cacao, which of course is raw chocolate, if you've ever been wondering. Fun fact, cacao, as it's spelled here, is raw chocolate, and cocoa, that you might see, C-O-C-O-A, is cooked chocolate. So there you go. Fun little tidbit. Maybe you knew and that's old hat, but maybe it's new and it's kind of fun. I get asked that question actually a lot. So cacao is a wonderfully bitter experience. If you've never had raw cacao, I recommend trying it out. It is so different than chocolate that has been processed. It has a lovely oil, and obviously I'm already starting to daydream about raw cacao, so I'm going to move on, but I highly recommend checking it out. The next thing, the dark green veggies. So you probably grow a lot of these in your garden, just including those. They're also anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory, really fantastic. They clean your teeth when you chew them. Now, I'm just going to throw a little bit of my nutritionist side in here. If you do have issues digesting or bowel issues at all, I definitely don't recommend eating any of the greens fully raw. I recommend going ahead and steaming them, breaking down that insoluble fiber that's in them, and then chewing like it's your day job. Chew, chew, chew. It's crazy to think we need to be chewing every bite 34 to 50 times. I know. But we do, because we really want our food to be liquid before we swallow it, especially some of these vegetables. Digestion does start in the mouth with the saliva. So that's why it's super critical. And then green pumpkin seeds. And then the spices, of course. And finally, our last taste is salty, which of course we are very familiar with, especially in this culture. I think salt is added to almost everything. I'm sure you already know, but I will put a pin in the fact that the quality of our salt is critical. A lot of salt has plastic in it, a lot of microplastics in it. A lot of salt is not what it says it is. So I highly recommend just making sure that your brand of salt is really clean. And of course, I'm sure you guys are all just geniuses anyway. I'm sure you're already on the total sea salt 84 trace mineral train, but if you're not, we want to make sure we're not doing iodized salt or bleached salt, because it has all the minerals taken out of it and the body cannot utilize it anymore. So that's crap. So we just want to move on from that. And how we identify the salty taste, not hard to do. We're pretty good at that. We know it well. It comes from the mineral salts in the foods. It stimulates our appetite. So that is something that we want to be mindful of, because and that's why companies have used so much salt and of course sugar in our foods, because salt keeps us eating. So we want to make sure we're balancing our salt intake and we're not actually overeating. So all of those satiation hormones can be triggered when we're actually full. And fun tidbit side note, if you pay attention to when you eat and you're chewing and you're eating in peace and all those things, you will have a little burp at some point in your meal, and that actually means you're finished eating. So that might be something It's random, but it might be something fun to look at because we don't actually want our stomachs stuffed full. That helps our digestion. We want our stomach about 3/4 of the way full so that it can pump and do its job to digest. And of course, the whole foods that contribute the salty taste, celery and cucumber. Fun fact, when you eat celery, you actually burn more calories eating the celery than the celery has. Fun. It makes for a great hydrating, rejuvenating juice after you work out or before or on a hot summer day. And actually I've never used it, but I've heard it's great for hangovers. So there you go, tidbit. And then of course, sea salt and eggs. And this is a plant-based presentation, but I threw the eggs in there because I know a lot of you keep chickens. So you just can know that there is the salt content in that. Okay, so that's the 6 tastes. We know them, we love them, we understand them, and we just work to start balancing them and dancing with them in all of our meals because they offer us an opportunity, of course, to create more harmony within our bodies. More harmony means we're in the parasympathetic state of the nervous system more often, which of course means that's the rest and relax state, which is where we have repair, we feel more calm, we have more peace, and our bodies are able to heal. Our immune systems are directly connected to our nervous systems. And if we don't get into the parasympathetic state enough, then we're not able to repair as effectively as if we are in that parasympathetic state. Sleeping does not equal parasympathetic state either, by the way. So we're just paying attention to it, and we're using food as medicine in the ways we know how, and we can do that with taste. Okay, so the next thing we're going to chat about, I'm going to watch the time. Oh my goodness, here we go. We're going to keep jamming. Thanks for staying with me. I hope you're having a great time. I'm having a great time with you. So what do we do with our garden goodies? And I wanted to show you here, these are some of our harvests. So the picture in the middle, I harvested on like a Thursday. The picture on the right, I harvested on like the following Tuesday. Oops, that's a video. I was going to show you our property, but given time, I can send it to you guys at a later time. And then here on the top left, that's from our tower gardens. We had 3 aeroponic tower gardens growing. So we had all that harvest at one, like on maybe the following week. In the center, we did our community supported agriculture, all those greens, our towers on the right, you see those. In the bottom middle, that will be where we have the 7 of the 10 raised beds that we grow out of. And then on the left is another little tiny bed. So just to show you kind of the magnitude of food that even we had, and this was our very first season producing. So a hope and a prayer and a lot of feedback from Janice and Greg. And we had the opportunity to create incredible growth. And of course, not perfectly, but beautifully. And it supported and gave life to a lot of people. We've got our fruit as well. So we've got fig trees. We didn't just have one fig, but I just had a picture there. Pakistani mulberry trees, which, as you know, probably grow fantastically in Arizona, and they're the sweetest, most delicious thing we'll ever do. And then we have our first apples coming in as well. So with all of this food, we had to get creative with and help our teams get creative with what to do with it so we can support as many people as possible and then support our teams and then, of course, move into our food insecurity, healing up and creating that bridge with food insecurity and our mission around that. So here are the things that I recommend looking at doing, and I'm going to just talk you through them real quick. And then I will have more information on these in PDF format, which you will get after the presentation. So the first thing is you can freeze most things. And what we do is actually we freeze our greens. So this picture in the middle are some of our garden grown greens. We chop them up small. And one great way to do it is to take a cookie sheet and spread them out thin on that, freeze them, take them out, and then put them in an airtight bag or glass container and put them in the freezer. Then you can use them for smoothies. You can use them for stir fries. You could use them for soups. So it's great because you can really save a lot of greens that way. Of course, you can juice them and you can freeze the juice. You can blend them into delightful soups or smoothies. Dehydrate them I didn't mention that. So we dehydrate a lot of our green onions. On the right here, you'll see I have a sweet potato, which I did not grow, but the zucchini I grew and the beets in the middle I grew, and we dehydrated all of those into chips. And it's a fantastic way to avoid all the like yucky oils and junk that comes on chips pretty much inevitably, preservative wise, when you go to the grocery store. And you can make your own chips. And then when we get into the Creamy-Dreamy sauce recipe, you have chips to dip in there. It's just brilliant. It's so fun. It's so delicious and so crispy and happy for your taste buds. So really looking at, okay, what can I dehydrate? I have personally an Excalibur dehydrator. It's one of the top of the line, and I got it on Facebook Marketplace. And it was really, really easy to just check it out and grab that. But Bed Bath & Beyond, probably Amazon, maybe not shopping there, but there's a lot of different ways you can get used dehydrators, and they're an exceptional tool. I also dehydrate a lot of our herbs, dill, rosemary, the green onions, like I mentioned, basil, all sorts of things. And so you can have tons of containers of your own herbs and then share them with your friends. You can make powders. So green powders are very hot on the market now. Beetroot powder is one of the most powerful pre-workouts and post-workouts supplements. I was like, that was not a complete sentence. So you can make your own powders, which is really powerful, with the best food ever because you grew it. And I'm sure your soil is also the best ever. So you can make powders, and all you would do for that, chop it up, dehydrate it, put it into a food processor. Bada bing, bada boom. There's our powder. Kids or your lunch snacks, fresh, right? You can take everything fresh, which is wonderful. Soups, you can can things, you can gift it to neighbors, you can donate it, you could look at selling to local restaurants. There definitely are stipulations around that, but it's an idea, it's something you could look at. Preserve it, do jams and jellies with it, with your fruits. You can get creative. Maybe you want to try something different to create into a jam or jelly, because we're all about making masterpieces here and messes. And then make and freeze. So you can create yummy things like salsas and hummuses and dressings and dips, and make them up and freeze them. So, and then take them out whenever you want them, or of course, gift them. So there's a lot of different things. And of course, this is the short list. There's a lot of other things you can do, but this will at least get us started in saying, okay, I have an overabundance of what I've grown. How do I help other people with it or preserve it for longer and preserve a lot of the nutrient quality? Freezing does take about 30% of the nutrient quality out, give or take, but still, given that you have grown it and you have extraordinary soil and you've taken all of those measures to feed your plants and all of that, that's fantastic way to go. So again, we're not shooting for perfection. We're just shooting for presence, just presence of what we can do to create a happy, healthy life with the foods that we grow. Okay, here we go. We're going to get in now to the anatomy of a creamy-dreamy plant-based sauce and dressing extravaganza. I love, as I mentioned in the beginning, and obviously very passionate about this, I love sauces and I love dressings. I used to be the world's most boring cook, and people really didn't want to eat my food, which is fine because more for me, but I love cooking for other people. It brings me so much joy. And when I discovered sauces and dressings that were not loaded with sugar, preservatives, hydrogenated oils, cooked oils, all sorts of things I didn't know about, it totally changed my recipe game. So the way that I do it is I take a base of 2 to 4 cups, and this depends on how creamy you want it to be and how much you want to make. You can, of course, do more or less. And tool-wise, you would like to probably have a high-powered blender. I even think like a NutriBullet would probably work on the smaller sizes. Disclaimer though, I haven't tried it. I have a Vitamix, but those could, Vitamix and Blendtex are definitely the tools that support this kind of thing the best, but there's lots of other tools that you can explore out there too. Or you can look at getting those used, or Vitamix has like a used refurbished program. So there's cool ways to find the tools that you need and bring those in. Or a food processor. So these work great in food processors as well. And those are typically less pricey. You can just do a little bit less with them, but you can grab those pretty much anywhere. So the base, 2 to 4 cups, and pretty much we're soaking it if it's a nut or seed. Of course, if it's an avocado, you don't have to soak it out. That would be weird. But we're going to take it, we're going to soak and sprout. So sprouting, you probably already know, activates the enzymes in the nut or the seed, and it makes it much more digestible. So it makes inert the enzymes in these foods that will conflict with our digestive system. And then olive oil, hemp oil. So hemp oil for women and flaxseed oil for men is a really great way to go. Now, can you swap it and eat it the other way around? Of course you can. This is just based on specific nutrition, and that's it. So we're just going to move on from there. You can take that for what it is, do what you want with it. Pumpkin seed butter as well. So anything that will whip up and get nice and creamy is a fantastic base. Additions, tahini, always get raw tahini. You want raw organic tahini. You want to make sure the oil in it's not cooked. Cooked oil is just detrimental, and we want to make sure we're not getting a bunch of it in our food, prepackaged food. Molasses, of course, as a sweetener, or there's a coconut nectar out now, which is delightful. Sesame seeds, hemp seeds, chia seeds, probably pretty familiar with those. And then we spice it. So we discover what we want out of our garden. And that is what's so wonderful about these Creamy-Dreamy plant-based sauces and dressings is we can go to the garden and say, hey, I have a ton of XYZ. So on the left picture here, you'll see those orange flowers, and those are nasturtiums. They are edible, spicy, kind of like a radish, really yummy, so good, so good to make into a dressing, or just throw on your salad, or just, pick right out of the garden, of course, and eat. But if you want to utilize them, you can definitely blend them into a sauce and activate that taste with that radish. And of course, then we have the radish and the dill, and then the beets on the other side. So and this is a short list. So there's many other things in your garden, herbs, and different foods that you can throw into these sauces and dressings. If you want the dressing to be lighter, then you wouldn't use the nuts. You'd probably use sunflower seeds or just some yummy oils or water as your base. And then if you want them to be a little bit thicker, heavier, you'll use the nuts and the seeds and the tahini. So I know that these aren't actual recipes, but that's on purpose because I'm really excited for you to try it out. And I will give you resources of where you can check out recipes to kind of get an idea of the ratios. So don't worry, I have you covered. Okay. So appetizers, desserts, and main meals. Now, originally I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to load you up with recipes right here, but that's actually not very practical, right? Like you can go and find recipes online. So instead, I want to give you ideas and tips on how to do it. And I'm really excited to tell you that my nonprofit, Brilliant Planet, we wrote a plant-based cookbook last year called Soul Roots, and it's a digital cookbook with phenomenal recipes. And tonight I am gifting that to you as my gift to you for your attention and your time and your willingness to activate this incredible skill set in your life. So that will be coming to you in your email as a thank you. So you'll be getting that book with all of our incredible recipes that our team put together. So one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about though, and just a tool for you to put in that back pocket of yours, is any comfort food recipe you can think of. Anything, cheesecake or ice cream or lasagna. You can make it plant-based, and someone out there has healthified it. Now, sometimes they haven't healthified it very well, but most of the time you can go in and get really cool ideas. For example, there are these raw vegan tacos you can make with like tons of stuff from your garden, and the meat is walnuts. So you just have walnuts and cumin and spices, and it's amazing. So just knowing that it's really at your fingertips with what you can do to take something that you want and create it as plant-based, especially with what's in your garden. And then I just listed some ideas here for you. Watermelon tuna has no fish in it. It's literally the watermelon, where you marinate it in the soy sauce, the Bragg's or something of that effect, depending on the recipe. And you make these little tiny, yummy, delicious tuna fillet look-alike things out of watermelon. So melons are growing now in Arizona, so that's a really fun one. And then I just gave you some other ideas, which again, you'll be able to come back to this, and I will have PDF follow-ups for you. So no stress if you haven't grabbed that. But I have the appetizers ideas like the watermelon tuna, the cashew cheese, whoop, I hit my mic, with cucumber, hummus with veggies. And of course you can make the hummus with tons of your garden grown herbs and things like that, and then just use your veggie chips that you dehydrate, or your veggies just fresh from the garden. Black bean brownies are a real thing. So if there are people in your life who would really prefer to never look at anything healthy, there are ways to hide it. Oh yes, really good ways to hide it. Like black bean brownies. You can put zucchini in chocolate cake. I mean, we're talking like jam-pack those desserts with vegetables or legumes or beans. It's exceptional. So just know that's an option, and you can start researching that. So you can make, again, everyday comfort foods, especially for the people in your life who are like, I'm never eating healthy. And you're like, cool, just have a brownie, you know? And they may never know, because it makes it creamy and delicious. And we know how far that takes us. Awesome. Nice cream, banana nice cream, is basically just a bunch of peeled frozen bananas thrown in a blender, blended. If you haven't done it yet, treat yourself. Go get some raw cacao nibs and blend up some frozen bananas and just sit and enjoy the heavenly experience, because it's so creamy. So creamy. So good. It's so good. Okay. And then I have just some meal ideas for you. Again, anything that you grow, you can pretty much turn into a meal. So get creative, get excited, start thinking about your comfort foods, maybe even have fun and make a list of them and just go for it. Okay, so delicious meals from the garden in 10 minutes or less, which is something I promised you. So I want to have a little bit of fun and have you imagine this. I truthfully am not a recipe follower. I learned the tastes, and then I have specific recipes I know how to make, and I rarely ever follow anything anymore because I love to get creative. Hey, I have this in the garden and I want to throw something together very quickly. So I want you to imagine right now, you walk out to your garden or your freshly stocked refrigerator. Of course, you don't have to have a garden to be relevant for this. You choose what's ready or what you're craving. So you're going to check in with yourself and you're going to ask yourself, what would I like for dinner tonight? Like, do I want a soup, a smoothie, something light, something heavier, something creamy or not? I don't know if that's ever the answer, but it's cool if that's your answer. A luscious salad, something else. Okay, what do I want? And then we get into the 6 tastes. You look at your 6 taste lists, which also you'll have a PDF to print and put on your fridge so you can do a quick check. And then lay out your main ingredients. You've got everything from the garden, and you kind of know your taste, or you're tasting it as you go. Permission to taste as you go. Granted, you'll never have to ask again, even if you weren't asking. It's lovely, isn't it? And then you grab out your condiments, whatever that might be, and you look up a recipe if you want. So we just discovered how to look those recipes up, easy peasy, or you just go ahead and create it. So if you're throwing a salad together, it's really fun. You can just take all your lettuce, your carrot, your sweet, right? Your carrots are going to be sweet. You've got your tomatoes, you've got your pepperoncinis, you've got your white vinegar and olive oil and sea salt and pepper and your bell peppers. And you can make the most delicious salad in lickety-split time, which I'm also going to give you a fun little bonus of a PDF on how to make the sexiest salads on the planet, because we probably have a lot of garden goodies that will make great salads, and salads don't have to be wildly boring and hard to eat because nobody chopped them enough. It's just so exciting. Okay, I get really excited about salads because, you know, they're great if they're great. So the last thing is challenge yourself to keep it to 3 to 5 ingredients and have fun, especially if you're trying to create something in 10 minutes or less. right here, I'm just going to go through this with you so you can kind of see how I activate my mindset around this kind of thing. So on the left, we have a family of carrots. How cute. And this, so we can use the greens and we can use the carrots. We can juice the greens, blend the greens, saute the greens, or just use them in whatever recipe we're doing. Take the carrots. So what I would do is I would do water, carrots, coconut butter or regular butter if you eat dairy, and ginger, hot and some hot water, and throw it all in the blender and blend it up. And you have a carrot ginger soup, lickety split, and some sea salt and some pepper. So that's it, really easy. And you can play around with what those things are, but we have the carrots and the ginger, and that's our flavor in our main ingredient. Then we have something to make it creamy. And then we have our sea salt and our pepper and our hot water, and we just mix it up. Really, really simple. Second one here is a salsa that I made, all garden tomatoes, jalapeno, green onions, lime juice, salt, and pepper. And it was gone overnight. Yes, overnight. Everybody that I shared it with loved it. So again, so easy. The salsa can go with your veggies if you like, or with your homemade chips, or on some tofu or eggs or whatever else you'd love to put your salsa on. But so easy, or you can freeze it like we talked about, give it away, be everybody's biggest fan. I mean, everybody will be your biggest fan. All the way on the right, that is one of our garden salads. And the top flowers are the nasturtiums. And then we just have the carrot tops. We have tomatoes, we have basil, we have a kale, we have lettuces, and that is a 100% garden created salad, which was for my Girl Garden Society members. And we had 25 women out that night and they loved it. So you could creamify it with avocado, and you could either blend it up or massage it in there. Or you could just make a white vinegar, like rice vinegar and olive oil with sea salt and pepper dressing, and drench that, and glorious. Then the bottom right is a cucumber grown from the garden, corn, fresh corn shaved right off the cob. So, and it wasn't cooked, it was just totally raw, with green onion, salt and pepper, and a little bit of olive oil mixed together. Again, a huge favorite. So just getting our wheels turning on the delights of that. Okay, I'm very sensitive to your time and want to respect it. And I know we're just about over time. So the second to last thing I want to share is just let the meals be ultra simple. The first thing is you don't need every meal to be balanced, which means not everything that necessarily we've been taught in our culture about nutrition and having 3 really balanced meals a day is accurate. It depends on your lifestyle, it depends on your goals, it depends on how active you are, it depends on what feels right to you. So if we're able to get back a little bit more to intuitive eating, which works really well when we're eating a lot of garden fresh foods, you don't have to balance it, meaning you don't have to have the fat, the protein, and the carbohydrate. You can trust your body a little bit more. So the second thing is you can check in with your body and your family, of course, if you're cooking for your family, and say, do we want a lighter or a heavier meal? And that can vary, again, based on the season and the day. And we can avoid sticky patterns. We can avoid overeating, overspending money on food, even just any of those components where maybe we're in a sticky pattern. We can lift ourselves out of just with the permission that, hey, it doesn't have to be a certain way, as long as I'm checking in with my body and I'm keeping those foods whole, delicious, and majority of them just from the garden if possible, or pesticide free. And then the third thing is create a go-to recipe binder or booklet with ideas when time's pinched and bellies are hungry. So just have those things like, oh my gosh, you threw together an awesome smoothie. Well, or, your kids can pull it out if they're old enough to do that and say, I loved that, I'm going to make it. What was in it? Probably all had some pretty bad smoothie experiences. Definitely looking at myself. I way over put in like the greens when I first went raw vegan. I'm no longer raw vegan, but I was raw vegan for a while. And I was literally blending in like a really old blender, AKA nothing was breaking down. Water, broccoli, kale, collards, and cauliflower. It was as hard to choke down as it sounds. So the point is, it's really lovely to make a recipe binder that you can just reference, especially when you're tired or your family needs the meals, and you can just be inspired by something you've created in the past or meals other people have created. Okay, you're a rock star. You've made it here with me. Thank you so much. We've got tons of resources over here on the right for you. There's a recipe app I really recommend. They have a free version. There's also like a $2.99 a month version. I don't get any kickbacks at all for that, but I love her stuff. It's called Fully Raw. There's a couple books I do recommend. Simple Ayurvedic recipes, which incorporate those 6 tastes and are very delicious and can be very healing. And then Eat, Taste, Heal. It's another Ayurvedic cookbook. Recipe blogs, a couple that I really love. And then, as I mentioned, I do have some bonus gifts for you that you will get as a follow-up. And Janice and Greg will send those over to you in the next couple of days. Maybe by tomorrow morning, they'll be able to tell me more. But for the moment, I'm going to pause. That's all I've got for you. And again, thank you so much for holding here with me and hanging out. I can't hear you, Janice.
Oh my gosh, Terra, this is fabulous. I double muted just to make sure that I didn't get any more interruptions. This is great. So, hey, put your, you're going to keep the share on right now. I wanted to say thank you. I am inspired. I am excited, and I got to see this video right before dinner, so I'm going to go have fun. But the comments were coming through. This has been a fabulously inspirational webinar. So a couple of things I had questions before we start getting to our guest questions, but I want to keep them as fast is, you talked a little bit about combining the tastes. How do you make a decision on that? How do you figure out which tastes you need if you're not sure?
That is such a good question. And it's a little bit more of an in-depth answer. One thing to do is probably to work with somebody who can help you understand where your imbalances are if you're not already sure. Just because based on, hey, what's going on for us? And I love highly individualized things because it offers us the opportunity to go just straight in to what's going on.
Right.
But if you don't have that, then sense it. Like, we're made of nature, and our bodies are insanely smart, right? If we cut ourselves, it coagulates and we heal. It's pretty incredible. So feel it out, taste something sweet and maybe get everything from the 6 tastes in front of you. And what do you notice that maybe feels that little like itch of like, oh, I need to eat that. Okay, maybe we actually don't need that as much because if we've had too much of it, or, oh, I'm eating this and I suddenly feel a wave of peace come over me. So we just get into that space of trusting ourselves and trying it out and playing with it. And then ideally more of that in our meals and less of the other components, but still creating everything with the 6 tastes so that it can be balanced and we do feel satiated at the end.
Okay, it sounds like we have another class we're going to have to bring in just to go into that alone. Hey, everybody, if you want another class from Terra, you're going to need to put some yays in the comments so we can make sure we make that happen. Why don't we remove the screen real quick and go into so where we can talk and see each other.
Okay.
All right. So what I'm looking at is some really good questions that came through. I'm going to pose them to you and we can cover them a little bit. Before we do that though, I want to go through a couple of websites. First off, I want to tell y'all that at the Urban Farm, we've been doing a lot of classes for free for a long time. And what we're looking at here is we're trying to expand and offer more. I want to tell you really quick. Greg started teaching in-person classes several years ago, and he's told the story a little bit about he's prepared for them and nobody showed up. But then when he had free Urban Farm tours and asked for donations, then the people would show up and the donations would too. It was just really validating to him for that to happen, because those that could chip in would, and because they usually felt good about what they got. And those who could not donate would usually show up later commenting on what they got and shared something because they saved money. That model of education, value recognition resonated deeply with Greg, and he really made that in a form of how we do the Urban Farm. So as Urban Farm U has taken form with more and more classes, some of our classes became courses, and our courses grew into summits, and everything just kept getting bigger and better and packed with as much information as possible, like tonight, because we were like, bam, so much information, Terra, that was fabulous. Well, we're going to try and stay true to that concept. So I'm going to tell you right now that we do have a link where you can help support us with this program. This is not a requirement at all. It's very optional. If you go to urbanfarm.org/support us, you can help us out. So, but Terra's program is also a fabulous, fabulous, as you can see, information-packed program where she is not skimpy on sharing resources, on sharing details. So make sure before you leave, you wrote down that, Terra, what's the web link to go to what you had for us?
It's tuneinwithterra.com/urbanfarmvip.
Oh, perfect.
Yes.
So again, that's tuneinwithterra.com/urbanfarmvip.
That's right.
Don't miss that. Good stuff. And before I get to these questions, yes, we are sending out an email with the replay link. And with that, we'll send the bonuses that Terra has. All right, and the replay will be available for a limited time because we're going to go ahead and close this up so we can use it for other purposes. All right, so here we go. Quickly, Vicky asks, do you wash your greens prior to freezing?
Oh, that's a delightful question. So many things to say on that. Yes, and you don't have to. So my thing right now is just with air pollution. So knowing kind of the particles that are landing on our food and things like that. If we were living in a pure world, I would definitely not do it. But given, our state right now, especially with the fires, so if you're harvesting now, I would definitely wash it. And I use 100% food grade hydrogen peroxide, and I put about 2 tablespoons into my sink, fill it with water, and that's how I wash my greens. So that's an option to do, and that's why I would do it. Otherwise, you can keep the dirt on it, and then when you take them out to use them, you can wash them. However, if you're going to be just blending or throwing into soups, obviously you don't want to have the the dirt on it. I mean, or maybe you do, I don't know, but probably not, just given that the greens are really what you're after. So that would be my answer of both.
And fires are on the Southwest. We're very much dealing with that over here. If you're back east or down southeast, you probably won't have the fires, but you can still have pollution. So those are some good suggestions. Teresa asks, have you ever heard of planting raised beds by the Six Tastes? And would this even work? She's never even heard of it.
Such a cool question. I really love that. I haven't actually necessarily thought of that. We companion plant at Wonderland, which is the eco destination we've built. And we companion plant because it really makes sense for the way that we're growing with our ecosystem. But I would assume, and again, this is an assumption, but I would assume that a lot of the companion plants probably offer different tastes. So it would be really fun to create something where you map out the tastes and the foods and the companions, and you overlay all of those and then grow. So again, we haven't done it, but I love that idea. And if you combine it with the companion planting, I mean, woo, that would be fun.
Anybody who does this, take pictures, document it, and send me a little email about it. I would love to write up something about that.
Yes.
Nell says, you missed Umami Savory. Do you know of Katie May's Colory Gym and her amazing website, Irresistibly Scrumptious Work?
Sounds amazing. I'm not familiar with her. There's so many incredible people out there, but what a resource. And if we can check that out and share it if that works for everybody. So
I've got this written down. I'll send it to you after the class.
Thank you for that. That's amazing one.
Cool. And so Carrie asked the question, I guess I did. So we want a balance of all the 6 tastes for each meal?
Perfect. Okay. So kind of already talked through that. And of course that answer is yes. And how much of each taste, given where you're at, what you're needing, and trusting your body on it.
Yeah. So a little bit of each and put a little bit more of the stuff what you need, what you're craving. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Carrie, another Carrie says, I have a Pro Elite air fryer oven that is supposed to be able to dehydrate. Is this better to get a dedicated dehydrator?
Not necessarily. That's a great question. I have not yet used the dehydrators in those machines.
Right.
The main thing that I would recommend looking at, especially for the fruits and vegetables, so that you can maintain the enzymes in them and the minerals, because of course that's the
Goal.
meat.
Right.
That's the goal. I'm like, that's the meat of it. I'm like, that's totally not the right word. Is to keep it under 118 degrees. You really want to be dehydrating under 118 to preserve everything. So if you can do that, then I'd say, hey, go for it, all in. If you can't do that, I would reconsider.
The concept is there. As long as you're reaching that mean temperature of 118 or less, mean is not right, but if that's what you're staying
maximum.
Maximum. Wow.
Vocabulary, you gotta love it.
There you go. Experiment. That's what this whole thing is. Get messy, experiment, try it.
Absolutely.
All right. Vicky says, do you peel sweet potatoes, beets prior to beets prior to dehydrating? My sweet potatoes turned hard as stone after dehydrating. Any hints, tips?
So with sweet potatoes, I do coconut oil and salt, sea salt. And that helps a ton. So I don't know if you've done that, and I'd be interested to know, and if they still turned really hard. And no, I don't peel them. So that's the answer to that. I don't peel either of them.
I've never gotten around to dehydrating sweet potatoes because when they come out of my garden, I'm so excited. I just start making things with them. They've never gotten to the dehydration stage. I'm going to have to try that one of these days. Got a lot of good questions here. Wow. Are you fermenting some of the food you grow from your gardens? Asked Teresa.
Oh gosh. Thank you, Teresa. We're going to add that to the list. I've done fermenting in the past, definitely. And we'll be teaching classes on that at Brilliant Planet for the kids and families this upcoming fall. Currently, though, to answer your question, we're not doing any fermentation, but I think it's a fantastic way to go.
You know, one thing I want to catch right now, I noticed a comment. If you were trying to type in tuneinwithterra.com, it is tuneinwithterra, TERRA.com. Tuneinwithterra.com. All right. Carrie, I love this. We have so many different Carries today. Carrie says, have some challenges in the spring months. Is it still okay and timely to plant, or what is good to plant now? Carrie, you know what? That is a great question for our garden chat. Come join us for that. We're going to be going through that more extensively about what to plant. So I hope you don't mind us skipping that one. Linda says it was a fantastic presentation. She's looking forward to the bonuses. Lots of great comments here about how much people appreciated this. Wendy says, for your carrot tops, are you using them raw in the salad and smoothies, or are you blanching them?
Or am I planting them?
Blanching.
Oh, no, raw. Just using them raw. But you can blanch, definitely.
I've not tried that. I should try.
So
all
many
right.
good ideas.
Let's see. I'm trying to do this again. If a lot of people are asking, they want to see this again. Obviously, there was so much, and it is 6:18, so we're trying to run just to the questions. Jane was surprised that said something about pomona pectin allows you to make jams without sugar. So that's a good thing to know.
I love it.
Yeah. I'm just getting into that myself.
So fun. There's so many different things to do. You could make it into a ladies' night, or a couple's evening with your friends. One, so you have help, especially when you have a big harvest. And two, again, building that community. Okay, perfect. Yes. And again, just the community, right? Creating the culture, put on some good songs. Michael Bublé just came to mind. I don't know why, probably because he's like a wildly sexy man singing at you, you know? Put that on with your girls, whatever works.
I'm there.
Yeah. A lot of people are asking too just about this site. So brilliantplanet.org and then tuneinwithterra.com. So just wanting to put that out there. And then we're on Instagram and Facebook too.
All right, I'm checking on this link again and tune in with Terra. The link that I put in the chat room does work. We will
Perfect.
include a link in the email for this as well, so in case you missed it tonight. I have had a blast, and for lovely, lovely kudos coming through to Terra, I'm going to be downloading those for you and sending them to you. This rocked. This was a fabulous class. I'm so excited. I have questions. I have lots of questions. We have to do something else.
Fantastic. I look forward to it. Thank you so much for having me. And it's been such an honor. And thank you guys all for sticking with me, asking questions and showing up to your life and to the passion that you bring to this. I'm really grateful.
Thank you. Well said. So for on behalf of the Urban Farm, thank you to Terra. Thank you to everybody for showing up. I know you probably have some more questions, but Terra is reachable. We'll send out that information and join us again. I'm going to do another one of these.
Awesome. Bye,
Thanks,
guys.
everybody. Bye-bye. Before I end this, I'm going to stop it. I want to go grab